Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you for the applause. Thank you. This is actually a function in the podcast app. Yeah. I just finished teaching a class. It's almost a full day class, and I didn't plan to do this podcast until 5 minutes ago. And I was so careless, I didn't turn on the recording function. I actually started speaking 3 minutes ago. And then I saw that the recording function was staring straight at me, unclicked. So I actually wasted about 3 minutes talking. The topic that I chose to talk about today is something that I posted on social media. I posted on LinkedIn. This discussion. Why do we have different terms down the last maybe 10 or 20 years? First, we have sustainable tourism, and then we had responsible tourism, and then now we have regenerative tourism. And I think in between, we probably saw another one or two terms like I think somebody used, is it eco-tourism or meaningful tourism? Somewhere along those lines, yeah? This topic is like most of my podcasts. There was no rehearsal, no preparation done. I just basically close to being shooting off the mic impromptu, and that's something that I do for most of my podcasts. No or little preparation done before speaking. And let me explain to you why. Let me give you my take on why different terms down the last maybe 20 years or so. Yeah, in the beginning, we probably had sustainable tourism as one of the earlier terms, and in our journey of trying to make tourism more equitable, more gentle, or gentler, in our pursuit of making tourism more eco-friendly, of trying to bring about more benefits, reducing harm and the negative things tourism can bring to people and places. So we started by using the term sustainable tourism. And after some time, we started replacing it or using another term as an alternative, this term responsible tourism. Yeah. So before I go on, I should tell you that there are some people who feel that the reason why we have been using different terms down the different years is we need something to make the concept or the notion sexier. We need a new term every few years so that the tourism industry people can find something attractive or appealing to the outside world and to people within the tourism industry. So that we will look like an exciting industry doing exciting work. I don't think I concur or necessarily agree with that perspective. My take is as we go along the journey of making tourism more sustainable, more equitable, more environmentally friendly, less destructive, less harmful, more positive, we discover that there are terms we can use that are clearer, that is widely understood and widely understood better. And that's why after sustainable tourism, we have this alternative term. And this term is actually not seen as an alternative by some people. Yeah, by some people, or rather for some people in some places, they actually prefer this other term, responsible tourism, and I'm one of them. Yeah, I find that to give you the context, I actually graduated with a master's in responsible tourism. That was done 14 years ago, and so quite naturally for us, we find that responsible tourism is a term that is clearer, more specific, perhaps better and widely more easier and better understood by different stakeholders. So hence, responsible tourism to a certain extent became the substitute term. And responsible tourism worked well for certain people, for some people, for many years. Responsible tourism allows people to catch the vision straight away, because sustainable tourism Sometimes we're asking sustain what, and sustain what for who. But if you substitute it with responsible tourism, it is easier to understand responsible tourism, because responsibility is everybody's responsibility. Every of the different stakeholders in the tourism industry, from the government to the businesses and to the local people and to the traveler or travelers. Yep. So responsible tourism for a period of time became, and still is, to people like me and many others, still is is a term that is close to our heart, and there is no way and no time that we are going to give it up. Yeah. So there are still some people like me and my fellow tourism industry people, quite a lot of them still use the term responsible tourism. And a couple of years ago, before the pandemic, a few years before the pandemic, somebody coined the term regenerative tourism. And I could be a little bit wrong, because according to somebody that I spoke, the term regenerative tourism is actually 1 decade old. Here in Asia, it's probably no more than 5 years old. Yeah, and I'm one of the first few to be talking about this term, regenerative tourism. I like this term. I like the term responsible tourism. I do not dislike the term sustainable tourism, and I make it very clear, I do not dislike the term sustainable tourism. I prefer responsible tourism, and I also like the term regenerative tourism, and I tell people that I feel that there is little harm in having these 3 or 4 terms, because having different terms work well. Different people need different terms to have a better understanding of what we are doing and what we will be doing for many years as a community in the tourism industry. Sustainable tourism may work well for you. Responsible tourism may work well for me. Let's not get into an argument which term is better, which term we should use, because culturally, socially, different terms may be clearer and works better for you. Different terms work better for me, because I come from a culturally and socially different backgrounds. Yeah. So I think let's encourage one another in the tourism industry not to be hung up over which terms is the best. And I was telling you, I remember somebody likes the term meaningful tourism. And we shouldn't say that this term is the best. We cannot say that this term is not as good as responsible tourism. Although, frankly speaking, I sometimes do feel personally that responsible tourism is still probably the best term. But I have to remind myself that it is best for myself and for some other people. All right, let's not get hung up over which term is good, which term is best, because I think we're chasing up, bucking or chasing up the wrong tree. Let's continue to work together to find solutions, because we have more problems than answers, Solutions continue to be something that we should be working on, and having different terms shows us different discoveries and milestones, and that's the next part of the podcast. I am going to spend the next 1-2 minutes talking about this, and for the first few times, my podcast will shoot over 10 minutes or slightly more than 10 minutes. Yeah, having different terms, it's a bit challenging to keep up with the terms, but having different terms also mean that we perhaps have seen progress. Having different terms, there is nothing bad about having different terms, because we should see it from the positive point of view. Having different terms may mean that we are progressing. We have hit different milestones, which is good, and that's why we are discovering new terms. We have achieved certain things that we thought was difficult in the past, and that's why we come up with new terms. So my dear friends in the tourism industry, having new terms now and then shouldn't mean we forget and discard the old terms. Having new terms shows us that we have reached a certain point in our pursuit of sustainability. And we are now being clearer and more specific and have a bit better and deeper understanding of sustainability. That's why we're using new terms like meaningful tourism, equitable tourism, or whatever, or regenerative tourism. We are fine-tuning our understanding or deepening our understanding and fine-tuning our efforts. All right. So there could be certain issues and disadvantages of having new terms every now and then. I think we should focus our larger efforts and attention to the good side of having different terms. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of June. June is coming to an end in the next 1.5 weeks. And this is Kevin from the Center for Responsible Tourism Singapore signing off. Bye-bye.